Hello friends, welcome back to my channel KBS Technocraft Python tutorial day 3 part 1. If you are interested in learning more about Python basics, I highly recommend checking out some of my previous videos. If you like content, please do like, subscribe, share. Today we are going to learn function. In this, we are going to know what are the functions, what is the built-in function, user-defined and custom functions, lambda functions or anonymous function, recursion functions. So, what are the functions? In Python, a function is a block of reusable code that performs a specific task. It is a way to modularize your code, making it more organized, easy to read, and maintain function. Take input parameter, process them, and return the result. To define a function in Python, you use the diff keyword followed by a function name and a set of parentheses containing the input parameter as a column. So I will write a simple function which will add two numbers. To do that, I will try to go on the Visual Studio and try to remove this code, and I have this code setup done. If you are not aware about it how to do this environment setup, please do refer the day one environment setup tutorials. I have added the link into the description box. So let's say consider I want to write a add method which takes two input parameter a and b, and it add those two values and return it. So if you see the declaration point of view, whenever you are going to write a function, you need to use the system keyword that is called def, and then the function name, and then the parameter in the parenthesis, and then semicolon. Then you will have your logic inside uh, this, and then you return the result. Now, this is the declaration part. How you will call these functions. So let's say consider I want to call and I want to return or print this result into a console. So what I will do, I will try to call this function like this. So what I will do, I have pass two parameters as a I pass as a 3 and b I pass as a 5, and then what I'm going to do, I'm printing the result or sum for those two numbers. So let's say consider if I run it here. Okay, so if you see it now, let's say consider I change these values, I run it, so you will be able to see 28. So here I would like to repeat once again. Definition is the def is the keyword is defined on Python, and then you will give the function name. Function name you can give any name. Let's say consider I am just adding any name, and then you will pass two or more one or more parameter, and then semicolon. Then you write your logic of that functions and then return it. So now let's say consider I have changed the name of that function and I will try to run it. So if you see, it does not impact the result because it does not matter what function name you have given. It's just matter the logic inside that. Now we will try to understand what is built-in function. In Python, there are lot of built-in function. Okay, so for example, let's say consider the built-in functions are built in Python and can be used directly without importing any module. For example, print, length, range, abs, type, etc. So we will take one example and we'll try to see what are the different kind of built-in functions are there and try to cover few of them. So I will just remove this functions code and I will type this here. So we will go one by one and see that. Okay, so if you see sum, the first example which we are having it here, we are having a list of numbers. So this is how the list are declared here, list of number, and then we are using sum. This sum is system defined, and then we are passing a list of numbers. Then it will what does it do? Basically it's run that code and it will sum that the number available in that particular list and print the result. So let's try to run it. If I run it here, then it's giving me the sum of that result. So I will try to rerun once again. Let's see here. So if you see, I am passing this list 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the total sum of this is 15. Let's consider I added one more element in this list, that is 6. And then if I run it, I'll be able to get the 21, the sum of this. So here sum is system defined functions. Now let's consider, okay, let's consider the other scenario where we are having a length. So what does it give? It will give you the how many items are available in particular list. So let me run only that particular function and show you how does it works. Okay, so here again we are having a list of fruit, and then what we are doing, we are applying the calling the len function, which is defined in Python. Len, this is the system defined function, and then we are passing this particular list, and then we are just trying to print the result of the len function, whatever is written. So if I clear it here and run this, you will be able to see there are 4 fruits. Now let's say consider in this example, if I add one more fruit called mango and run it, now it should give me the 5. So what does it do? Basically it's to give me the length of that particular list. Okay, now let's move on the other system defined functions. Okay, in this you can see here, this is the max and min. So what does it means? Basically if you are having a list of integer or float and you want to know what are the minimum number or what are the minimum number in that particular list and what is the max number in that particular list, in that case you will be using min and max. So what I will do, I will just run only that function and just see the result. I will clear it here. Okay, so if I run it here, I'll be able to see the, if you see here, 99 is the highest value in this particular list, then I'm getting 99. Okay, and lowest grade is 76. So here in 76 lowest. So let's say consider if I change to 111 and then 1, then you will see the highest number will return 111 and lowest number will be 1. So let me rerun this programs. Okay, so you are able to see this result. The highest grade is 111 and the lowest grade is 1. Now we will have one more program for this and we'll try to see that. Okay, so range is also system defined. So range is something which say that what is the range you want to use it, and then if you define here only one value, then it will say that what is the max limit for that. For example, if you are having this program and you want to run it, then you will be able to see that is started from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. If I start from, let's say consider, if I want to define in range start from 2 to 5 and I will run this code, then you will see the result will start from 2. Let's say consider here. So you will see this started from 2, 3 and 4. Let's see one more system defined function. It's called round. So when you round and you give the how many decimal values you want. So for example here, this is the value of pi, approximately 3.14159, and if you run this, you will be able to see it's rounding to 2 decimal places. Let's say consider if I make it three decimal places and run it, you will be able to see this three decimal places. So round is a system defined. Now we will go on the user defined functions. So what are the user defined functions? User defined functions which are developed or defined by a developer based on their requirement. So what we'll do, we will write some of the user defined function and we'll see that how does it works. Let's say consider we have a grades, and then we want to calculate the average of that particular grades. So for example, there are a list of, let's say consider we have a list of grades values. So what I will do, I will just do it. So in this function, we are trying to calculate the average of that particular grade. So now we are having a keyword definition and then function name, and then we are passing numbers. Numbers is nothing but a list of numbers, and then what we are doing is we are first using the sum, which is defined, system defined, and then whatever the sum is returned, then we are storing into the total, and then we are also here to get the average sum divided by number of items in that particular list. So length is, as I have explained in the previous example, length is system defined function which we are using it, and then we are passing that number is nothing but list of numbers, and then we are getting the average and we are returning. So this is the function definition. So now let's say consider this is where how we are calling this. So we have declared 88, 92, 76, 85, 99, and then we are calling this calculate average function here by passing this grade value, and we will get the average grade, and we are displaying or we are printing this, the average grade is this. Let me clear the result and I will run this once again. Okay, so if you see grade is 88, average of grade is 88. Now let's say consider if I want to pass 101 and let's say 102 here, and then I want to see what is the grade value now, average grade value now. So if you see here, average grade value is this. Okay, let's go for other examples which calculate. Let's say consider you have to calculate the area of a rectangle. In that case, we are going to create a function called calculate area, and then we are going to call that particular function in our program to calculate the area. So let me define that function here. So this is calculate area, and then area of a rectangle equal to length into width, and then we are storing to a particular variable, and then we are returning it. So this particular function will calculate the area of a given rectangle. Now let's say consider we want to pass the area. To calculate the area, we are going to pass the length and width. So what we can do, this is the function declaration. We can try to define the length and width, and then we will call the calculate area, and then we will calculate the area, store that area value into the area, and then we are going to print it. So here, if you run this, what you will get it, will be able to see the area of this particular rectangle where the length is 5 and width is 3 is 15. Okay, let's have one more example for function which is very simple. Let's say consider you want to write a function, user defined function, where you want to write some welcome methods just for simply adding the name with hello. So for example, in this example, what I'm going to do, I have created a print welcome function. What the statement what I have written inside this hello, and then welcome to my tutorials. Now what we are going to do, we are going to call these functions in down so that we will be able to see the result of this. Now let's say consider I am just calling this function for two different values. Since the function are defined, we can call this multiple times. So for example here, and then let's say consider here I pass ls and bob, and then I will see this particular code when I'm executing, then it will return two output here. So let me run it here. If you see, hello, Elias, welcome to my tutorial. Hello, Bob, welcome to my tutorial. So these functions are very simple one-line statement where we are concatenating with hello, name, and predefined text to the name which is passed in this particular function, and we are getting display. So these are the user-defined function. Now we will go on recursion function. What are the recursion function? As I have mentioned, recursion function. Basically, recursion functions are functions which are going to call their self. That means a function calls itself. So now let's say consider in recursion function you want to write a program for creating or calculating a factorial for a given number. So let's say consider you have a number which you want to pass it, and then you want to calculate a factorial of a given number. So now let's say consider here I created a function, it's called factorial, and then I'm passing a number here, and then what statement I am writing here, if n equal to 1, then I'm returning 1, and then else condition I'm doing multiplication of n into factorial n minus 1. That means this is a factorial function name, and I'm keep calling inside this function. So this is a function declaration here, and what I'm doing it here, I'm calling this factorial inside this. So if you see here, it will call inside this. Now what I'm doing here, I'm passing 5 value to this factorial function, and then storing that result into the variable, and then I'm printing it. So if I run it here, so if I'm passing 5, then it will return me 120. Let's see that here. So it's 120. Let's say consider if you pass 4, then it should return a 24. Okay, now we will create one other function which will give you a particular a function that calculates a Fibonacci sequence. So I will explain what is the Fibonacci sequence and what is the output of this function will come. So let's say consider the function we need to define is named as the Fibonacci, and then in this function we are going to call this Fibonacci function itself two times. So for example, let's say consider the Fibonacci series are defined in this way. So let's say consider here 1, 2, 3, 5, and 8, then 11, then 19, something like this. Okay, so Fibonacci series, any third number will be sum of the previous two value. For example, 1 and 2. So if you want to know the third value of this sequence, then you have to add the previous two value. So that's what logic we are having. What we are having here is the n minus 1 plus n minus 2. So let's say consider in this, if you want to know the sixth value of this sequence. So for example, let's say it start from 1. Okay, it start from, so 6 value. If you want to know that, then if you pass here 6, then what does it do? It may return me the a. Let me run this code. Okay, so if you see it's 8. Now let's say consider if I pass this to 8th value, so you will see the 8th value of that sequence. So you can see 21. basically it should be 13 and it should be 21. 21. So if you see, if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 21 is that value, so it will give you the 21. Now we will move on the lambda expression. What are the lambda functions? Lambda functions, also known as the anonymous function, where you need not to define the function name. How does it work? I will explain that. So let's takes one argument and double it. Double it in sense that number, if I pass 1, it will give 2. If I pass 2, it will give 4. So the way we declare lambda functions, you have to use lambda keyword, and then you have to define your parameters, and then you will write your logic in same by. So here if you see, there is no function name, and the way it's get called here, you if you see here is just a double, and then we are passing the value 5 because there is only one parameter here which is defined, and then we are printing the result. So if I run it here, you can see 10. I'm not sure you are able to see that. I will clear it and I will rerun once again so that the result will be visible to you. So you can see 10. Let's say consider if I pass 10, then you will be able to see the value 20. We will take one other example for lambda expressions, where a lambda function that two argument and returns their product. So for example, let's say consider you want to create a lambda expression, lambda functions where there are multiple parameters. In this, what we are having it that here is that there are two parameter x and y. So this is how you can pass multiple parameter in the lambda function. Lambda is the keyword, xy is function, and this is what the logic we have written. Now, when you want to use it, then whatever before the equal sign is there, you have to use that particular name and then pass the parameter and then print. If you want to print, you can print this result. So if I run this, before running, I will just clean it. If I run it, I can see 50. If I pass 100 here, it will return me 100. Now, let's say consider we will do some change in this code to understand in more detail. So let's say consider I change this function operator to x, y, and if I run it, it will give me the addition of that because we have changed this operation or statement, whatever we are doing it here. Okay, I hope I have covered all the points in the function. So I will repeat once again. In Python, there are four type of functions: built-in functions, user-defined function, and lambda functions, and recursive functions. Thank you so much for watching my video, and I hope you like it. If you like, then please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much.